Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening as we welcome another Shabbat into our world, into our homes, into our family. Shabbat Shalom, Cantor Peicott.
Shabbat Shalom. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. It's great to see you. I was
nice
thinking,
to be here with everyone.
Absolutely. I was thinking this afternoon how in many ways this entire experience of being in quarantine and has kind of mimicked what happens at camp sometimes, or what happens when you live in Israel, which is that you start to measure time in terms of Shabbat, right? One Shabbat to the next, that kind of becomes the turning point in the week and kind of the mile marker in the week. And I know for a lot of us watching, a lot of us together here this evening, kind of feel like the days and the hours and the kind of are running into one another. But I've heard from many of you that each week you join us here at 6 o'clock, and it kind of serves as this weekly check-in and this way to kind of mark time. And I particularly feeling that this week. I don't know about you, Cantor.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the one marker of I know this is going to happen at the same time every single week. This is the one thing I can count on right now in the world where just everything is so up in the air. It's like when you're at camp and you know you're going to put on your white and you're going to dance through the camp and you're going to make your way to Kabbalat Shabbat. So this has been a really big grounding point for me during all this as clergy.
Absolutely. And I think that's really what Shabbat's meant to be, right? As you said, grounding point, right? This kind of grounding point in time, and this grounding point kind of in our lives and in our world. So as we welcome Shabbat this evening, may it be a grounding point for us all. I think we'll begin with the lighting of our Shabbat candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We join together in the words of Kiddush. We sanctify our Shabbat time this evening. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikraei kodesh zechel yitziat mitzrayim kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. And last but not least, we join together in the blessing of our challah by all joining together in the motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
On Friday evenings, as the sun sets, the ancient mystical rabbis in Sfat in the north of Israel imagined that Shabbat arrives into our world and into our lives much the way that a bride arrives at a wedding. We've all experienced that moment of magic when the bride appears in the doorway and there's a spark in the room, an energy in the room. And the rabbis imagined that same magic, that same spark, that same energy is what we feel and experience on Friday evenings as Shabbat arrives into the world. And so we join together in this mystical acrostic poem, Lecha Dodi, which brings to life that imagery.
Shamor v'zachor b'dibur together now in our call to prayer. The idea that Jews all over the world are being called to pray together, even though we're so far away, we come together as one. So please join me if you're able to in the words of the Baruch Hu. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. In just a few moments, we'll join together in the words of the Shema, the words of listening. And so I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and we join together in the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. We join together in the words of the Ve'ahavta, words about the actions that we take in this world to show our love to one another, but to also show our love to the divine. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We are, I think, squarely in the middle of summer, the middle of July, which always makes me think of camp, always of summer camp. And one of the most beautiful moments that happens at Jewish summer camp, many Jewish summer camps, but particularly Wilshire Boulevard Temple camps, happens each and every day, each and every night. The very last thing that we do together as a camp community before going off to our cabins to go to bed is we sing Hashkivenu together. We sing the words of this evening prayer that, among other things, asks God to spread a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace, over us as we go to bed. Well, tonight we ask that God spread a Sukkot Shalom over us, over our families, and those we love, bringing us tranquility on this Shabbat.
Ashkivenu Adonai Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Ve'ha'amidenu malkeinu lechayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
We all know that the Ten Commandments are important. But what you might not know is that there's actually two versions of the Ten Commandments found in the Torah. Now, the two versions are almost exactly identical, but there are a few incredibly subtle differences, and one of those subtle differences is in the way that the commandment to, or I should say the commandment connected to Shabbat, is articulated. In one version, we are told to remember Shabbat. And in the other version, we are told to guard or to honor Shabbat. The rabbis take this to mean that it is not just enough to remember Shabbat. After all, you could remember that it is Shabbat and do absolutely nothing to observe it or to make it special. We have to also protect it. We have to also honor it. We have to also celebrate it. And so we join together in Vishamru, both remembering Shabbat and honoring Shabbat. come now to the central piece of our service this evening, the Amidah, which this evening we're going to do silently. It's an opportunity to have a bit of quiet, a bit of peace, and to either reflect on the words on the pages of the prayer book if you have one, on the screen if you're following along there, or if you prefer to close your eyes, close the book, and simply the words of your heart. We take a moment now amidst our joy and our celebration on this Shabbat to think of loved ones and family members, members of our community who are in need of healing, who are in need of wholeness. And in just a moment, we'll offer a Misha Berach, a prayer of healing for them. So at this time, I invite all of us to take a moment and call to mind the people in our own lives who could use a bit of wholeness, a bit of healing. As together, we say these healing words of the Misha Berach for them all.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach limotenu mekol habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Well, our ancestors are getting close. After wandering in the wilderness for decades, this week they are within sight of the Promised Land. They're moving quickly toward the Jordan River, and on the other side lies their destination, the land of Israel, the land flowing with milk and honey. Now, understandably, everyone is excited. Everyone except for the tribes of Reuben and Gad. They notice that the land that they're moving through on the east side of the Jordan looks to be perfect for raising cattle. And so they decide that they'd rather stay and settle there and raise their livestock than continue across the river into the land of Israel with everybody else. We would like to build pens for our livestock and our cities for our children and women, they say to Moses. Well, as you can probably imagine, Moses hates this idea. He doesn't like it one bit. But after a little bit of a back and forth and a negotiation, he finally agrees, and he says to them, okay, build cities for your children and pens for your livestock. Now, it seems like a simple enough exchange. But as is so often the case, absolutely nothing is ever simple for the rabbis. Rashi, perhaps the greatest biblical commentator who's ever lived, notes and points out that the order of the nouns is crucial. Reuben and Gad ask to build pens for their cattle and cities for their people. Moses answers them by saying that they may build cities for their families and pens for their cattle. He reverses the order. According to Rashi, the people of the tribes of Reuben and Gad prioritized their livestock, their property, over their families, because they mentioned their cattle before their children. They mentioned their cattle before their children. Moses responds to them by flipping the order as a way to tell them, first build cities for your children, and only then build pens for your cattle. It's all about priorities. Are we any different? The 80 or 90-hour work week we tell ourselves is necessary to provide for the family we never see. The countless social engagements and endless business trips. The newer car, the bigger office, the better vacation, the fancier clothes. Does any of it really matter now that we're all stuck at home in our sweats? It's amazing what a pandemic and quarantine can teach us about our priorities. 4 months at home, hunkered down with family, 3 meals a day together, long walks together, no traffic-filled commutes, no weeknight work dinners, no missed bedtimes, has the potential to put things into perspective if we let it. Stripping away so much of our everyday lives, so much of what we thought was essential, reveals what matters most. Let's make the most of this experience and use it to really look at what matters most in our lives, and then live like it when we do emerge from this. Shabbat Shalom.
Yasher Koach, Rabbi, that was so beautiful, and I know that for myself as a new mom and a new parent, that this time has really forced us as a family to just reevaluate all of our priorities, and that for us in particular, seeing the blessing in all of this. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Cantor. We're gonna turn to some announcements. Lisa, do you have any announcements for us this evening? Anything coming up you want to point out to folks?
Yes, we talked about it briefly. I believe it was last Friday night, but Tisha B'Av, the commemoration of the destruction of the temple, a day of mourning for the Jewish people, is coming up on July 29th. And Rabbi Shapiro, Rabbi Nickerson, and myself will be leading a service that is going to be geared towards communal healing, a little bit of learning. So I hope that you'll join us on July 29th. More information will be coming about that in the future.
It should be a really, really wonderful opportunity for us all to connect, experience some healing together and some learning together as well. Just a couple other brief announcements before we conclude our service this evening. First and foremost, if you don't already follow the temple on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, our YouTube channel, please make sure to follow us. It's the best way to make sure that you're not missing any of the content that so many of us are working so hard to produce. Obviously, those of us who you see on screen, but so many other people who are working tirelessly who you don't see on screen to help us bring all of this content to you. It's the best way to make sure that you don't miss a single thing. Just as a kind of a quick reminder of our weekly menu here, we have on Mondays, Cantor Gurney has Music Matters. On Tuesdays, you can join me for Tikkun Olam Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, Rabbi Nanis has a Torah study of sorts that focuses on Jewish ethics. Thursday, Rabbi Nickerson with Talmud Tales. And Friday, we have our regular Friday Shabbat Torah study that we all teach. And in addition, Rabbi Nanis, along with one of our congregants, Tom Teicholz, is producing something called Culture Mavens, where together they're curating some of the best cultural content to be found online. So keep an eye out for all that. Keep an eye out for our daily emails telling you what's on tap for that day, as well as our weekly emails on Sundays, kind of lining up our offerings for the week. It's the best way that we can all stay connected during these unprecedented times. With that, we're going to shift gears a little bit and turn our thoughts to moments of memory, turn our thoughts to moments of Kaddish, as we do at the conclusion of every service, to remember those in our community, those in our families, those in our own lives whom we have loved and lost and who are no longer with us. We begin by thinking of those for whom we're in a period of shloshim, those who have died during these past 30 days, as we call to mind Max Berry, Joyce Mullery Clark, Mary Jane Fate, Marvin Gantz, Howard Greller, Sion Javahiri, Thomas Klein, Bill Phillips, Rabbi Stanley Robin, Eric Rothenberg, Betty Rudolph, Kent Sherman, and Stanley Zimmerman. We add to their names the names of those whose yahrzeits occurred during this past week: Chana Adlin, Lita Alkov, David Astor, Muriel Bartmasser, Toba Bassoff, Jim Bayer, Tilly Becker, Rose Burlfine, Milton Berman, Alec Block, Miriam Cohen, Marna Del Sol, Charlotte DeRoven, Paula Eisenberg, Beatrice Fabric Broder, Jonathan Fury, Millicent Heyman, Aaron Harris, Carol Harris, Andrea Heft, Irving Heitner, Alan Hirschfeld, Joshua Kaplan, Edward Lee Cosburn, Leah Lauder, Anna Rose Levitt, Charles Lever, Bernard Levin, Eileen Littman, Helene Lopez, Jerry Lushing, Lubov Machevskaya, Anna Magnin, Donald Magnin, Rabbi Edgar Magnin, Jeanette Markman, Marvin Mayer, Tom Mintz, Carolyn Poppert, Theodore Peterman, Stephen Pitts, Alvin Plotkin, Harold Polikoff, Phyllis Prescott, Anita Rabinovich, Riva Raz, Luis Richards, Bernard Roth, Faye Savid, Walter Schloss, Francis Seltzer, Hilda Shaw, Leon Sherman, Lester Sidney, Jean Sorority, Samuel Simon, David Simpson, Norman Sklar, Mayor Slifkin, Maya Saverdlik, Jesse Ward, Irving Wasserman, and Madeline Yeager. We also call to mind those to whom we are grateful but do not know, those who have fallen defending the flags of the United States of America, the State of Israel, all the innocent victims of senseless terrorism and violence all over the world, and everyone who has no one to say Kaddish for them. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be for a blessing. We join together now in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbath, be'alma divrach chiruteh ve'yamlich malchuteh, bechaye echon ve'yom echon, vechaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalnei elmayach. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitruman ve'yitnaseh, ve'yitadar ve'yitale ve'yitalal shemei d'kudsha berichu. Le'elah min kol birchata ve'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alma ve'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, ve'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
We conclude our service with the words of Oseh Shalom. We ask for there to be peace in our world.
Ve'imru
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom,
Shabbat
Rabbi Shapiro.
shalom. Shabbat
Have a great
shalom,
weekend,
Cantor Peicott. Have a
everybody.
wonderful weekend. Take care.